Welcome, my friends, to another edition of the Heritage Wealth Planning YouTube channel. Today, we're going to do another part of our series on state-by-state taxation for retirees. So we've gone beyond the A's and now we're into the C's, which means we're at California, the most populous state in the union. A lot going on in California for sure. So let's see what they look like, because California, is going to be interesting to see. One of the most diverse states, but also the most in terms of the inequality, the high income earners who live on the coast, and then the other folks, the poor folks who live in the Inland Empire, Fresno, whatnot, things of that nature. And then you got, of course, the rich people, Barbara Streisand, all those guys who are living large in Malibu. Not very diverse when it comes to income equality for sure. And which is interesting because the taxation of California would make one think that there'd be more equality income-wise due to their high level of taxes, but there certainly is not. In fact, it's funny. I just read an article by a lady who just left California. She took a picture of her rear view mirror looking at California, so I'll never see you again, moving to Idaho to ranch on 46 acres of beautiful Idaho land. That's happened more and more with California. They're relocating to Idaho, to Oregon, to Washington, Texas, Arizona. Unfortunately, I think a lot of them are taking their politics with them, and that is going to cause places like Idaho, Oregon, Arizona to be more and more tax inefficient, shall we say. But hopefully that will the people who leave California won't take those high taxes with them. They're fleeing California for a reason. Because it's certainly, you're not fleeing because it's not beautiful. California, my goodness, is just a beautiful, beautiful state. I mean, can you imagine just going to California back in the 1800s and just kind of going through the woods, going through Oregon, going through Idaho, and then seeing just the luxury, the lushness, the water. Can you just imagine just seeing that and saying, this has got to be heavenly? It boggles my mind how beautiful California can be. And then you look at a place like Los Angeles with all the smog and the commute and the high taxes, just, oh man. But California has a lot to be said for sure. All right, so let's take a look here. So we're going to start like we always do with Kiplinger's, and we're going to go to California. There we go. Hey, well, that's surprising me. So California gets a bad rap, and I think there might be less to that than we're going to surmise here. I think we'll be able to maybe dispute some of the bad raps on California from a tax perspective. Now, from other perspectives, your ability to live your life as you want is different. But from a tax perspective, that's all we're going to talk about here. So let's take a look. So Kiplinger gives California the middle quintile of mid friendliness. So it's not tax friendly, not tax unfriendly, but let's take a look. California has the highest tax rate in the country at 13.3% for millionaires. And while it doesn't tax Social Security income or railroad retirement benefits, there's those railroad retirement benefits again. Man, that is one strong lobbying group. All other retirement income is fair game. Sales taxes are high, but there's a significant bright spot. If you're over 80 or 65, you get to claim an extra $110 exemption that comes right off your tax bill. It reduces what you owe directly, $110 exemption. That doesn't seem like much. Okay. I don't get, they got a typo there, and on top of that, $100 right here. The typo there on top of $110 exemption. That doesn't seem to be that big of a deal. All right, let's keep reading. State sales tax is quite high. A 7.25% state tax levy. Localities can add another 2.5%, which the combined rate is 8.25%. Income tax low is 1% on up to $16,000 for married filing jointly, $8,000 for an individual. If you make more than $1 million, you have a 13.3% tax. For joint filers, then $1 million for those filing individually. So not much of a divergence there. If you're married filing jointly, it's a little bit less than 1.1 million. If you're a single taxpayer, it's right at $1 million. So not much of that's certainly a marriage tax penalty there in the good state of California. Effective income tax rate, though, actually isn't that high. 3.1% for individuals, 5% for joint. I mean, that's higher than some states, but certainly not what California gets, the notoriety of California being a high tax state. If you're making big bucks, over $1 million, you're going to get hammered. No other way around that. Generally speaking, if you're making big bucks in California, you're probably making a lot of money, do your options in Silicon Valley, whatnot. Hard to imagine there's that many people just right there on the $1 million cusp annually. I have a feeling that they're probably making 10, 20, 30 million a year due to selling stock options and income when they're buying and selling property and whatnot. But who knows? At the end of the day, if you're making over $1 million, you're going to get hammered. No other way around that. At least Social Security benefits are not taxed. So kudos to California for that. Exemptions, railroad, we already talked about railroad benefits. All private, state, federal pensions are fully taxed. So if you got a pension, fully taxed. And they do charge you. That's interesting. I haven't seen that yet. A 2.5% state penalty on early distributions from retirement plans, annuities, and IRAs. I had not seen that in any state before. And actually, this is the first I've ever heard a state doing that. So that's interesting. Again, this helps me a lot in this discussion on taxes for retirees state by state. So think about it. You take a premature distribution from an IRA, an annuity, or any other retirement plan, 401k, 403b, TSP, they're going to hit you with a 2.5% early distribution as well as the feds with a 10%. So be very, very cautious there, my friends. If you're going to take a premature distribution in the state of California, they're going to get you as well as the feds do too. Now, if I may, a lot of people make mistakes on annuities. Annuities is LIFO, all right? That means the last in, first out, which means you're always going to get your interest out first on annuity that's outside of an IRA. So you put $100,000 in annuity, it's worth $110,000 today. You take $15,000 out. That first $10,000 will be subject to income tax, and if you're under 59.5, a penalty because premature distribution. So 10% to the feds, 2.5% to the state of California. The other $5,000 is just a return of principal. Though. You've already paid taxes on that, so that will not be subject to a premature distribution. Not to the feds, presumably not to the state of California as well. I can't imagine it would be because you've already paid tax on that. That is your basis. So they're not going to tax you on taking money out of your basis, even if you're before the age of 59.5. I think that gets overlooked a lot. And so remember, annuities are LIFO, last in, first out. You cannot flip that over to FIFO like you can first in, first out with a stock, a mutual fund, or something like that. You cannot make specific identification of what you're trying to withdraw from your annuity. It is what it is, which is last in, first out. You're going to pay tax on the money you take out first and foremost. IRAs are taxable as ordinary income. We talked about that. 401k is ordinary income. Private and public pensions are all taxed as ordinary income. So no break for government pensions, which I find to be fair, other than railroad benefits. Again, don't know why that's so ingrained, but whatever. Median property tax on California's median home value is $412,000 is $3,100. So remember, California, they had that rule, Proposition 17 back in 1979. I forgot what the rule was on property tax. That really put them up against it, which made them have to, sorry for nose itches, they made to have to really raise other sources of taxes because property taxes were kept and not indexed for inflation. Now, if you bought a house, sold your house, you would get, it'd be indexed for inflation. But essentially, they were not able to keep up with property taxes with the level of inflation and with the price of properties going up as well. So they really were under the gun by that proposition. Proposition 17, I can't remember what the proposition was, but 1979. That was not good. I mean, you should index tax rates for inflation. Property taxes, certainly. And I would even say, like, the feds have not indexed taxes on Social Security and for inflation. It should go both ways. The government needs tax money. I don't deny that. I mean, at the end of the day, wouldn't it be nice if we didn't have taxes, but we do. You live in a fantasy world if you think we're never going to have it. So they should index it for inflation for them to raise the revenue, and they should index it for inflation for them to get the revenue. It should be both sides of the benefits here. You got to index it for inflation, but they don't. So that's a big reason why California had pretty significant taxes on other things other than the property tax. Also, it's interesting here too is a median home value. Remember, median is 50% above, 50% below. So the median is $400,000. Woo-wee, that's a pretty pricey place to live, my friends, for sure. Now, with that said, the property tax is only $3,100 on a median home of $412,000. So that's 0.75%, and that's not too shabby. I mean, that's not significantly high relative to some of these other states like New Jersey and whatnot. Tax breaks for seniors. In 2014, the governor reinstated the property tax postponement program, which provides property tax relief to senior citizens who have an annual income of less than $35,000 and 40% equity in their homes can defer payment of property taxes. Okay, so this is just, man, again, making the tax code that much more difficult. So if you have annual income, if you're a senior, you're blind and or disabled with annual income less than $35,000 and 40% equity in your homes, you can defer payment of property taxes beginning September 2016. Defer to when? Again, deferring does not mean avoiding. So I don't know what that means. So you're gonna have to look into your California rules more specifically. If you're domiciled there, you're deferring it, but it doesn't say till when you can defer it. So I'm not sure what that benefit is there, other than maybe you can defer it to a year we have more income, we can more afford it. I don't know. Vehicle taxes, California charges an annual fee that functions much like a property tax. Again, an annual fee. The rate is 0.65% of the actual purchase price and is reduced for the first 11 years of ownership. For example, the VLF, vehicle something, I'm not sure what LF stands for, but vehicle property tax on a 2-year-old vehicle purchased for $25,000 would be $147. All right, so you pay $147 on a car that's worth $25,000. That's 2 years old on an annual basis. So, again, that's not horrific. Again, that could be depending on what your cash flow is, but not a horrific vehicle property tax for sure. And, I'm surprised actually there is no inheritance tax or estate tax. I mean, it seems to me if California really wanted to up their budget and the revenue, they'd go after the, I'd say, but I guess Bill Gates lives in Washington, doesn't he? Zuckerberg and those guys live in Silicon Valley, and the Hollywood superstars, Barbra Streisand and whatnot, and raise an inheritance tax or an estate tax. And I'm not encouraging them to do that. I find it interesting that they have a high income tax, but they don't have an estate or an inheritance tax. So, all right. So far so good. California not insanely high for taxes for average Joe. It's just insanely high cost of living. All right. So let's go to the tax foundation in Arkansas. We did yesterday, so we're gonna hit California now and see what they say about the golden state of California. All right. So tax foundation, California. All right, so here's their individual taxes. Again, top individual income tax rate is significantly high. There's no getting around that, but that's not that many people are going to pay that. There's just no other way around that. State and local individual income tax is $2,000 per capita. You can't really use a per capita thing because that's the average, and we really want to look at the median because the average says you got Zuckerberg way up here paying hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, and you got old Josh way down here digging ditches for a living paying $50. Our per capita in that case is going to look huge. But this is what we want to look at. The average state and local tax burden is 11%, and it's in the top 20, which is not where we want to be. We don't want to be in the top 20 here for state and local tax burden. Tax freedom day is 46. Again, that's quite low, which means that's the worst 5. So the worst offenders for tax freedom in California is in the top 5. That's for sure, and that's bad. So in terms of tax freedom day and in terms of state and local taxes, they're not looking good in that regard. But let's look at property tax. I bet they're pretty favorable when it comes to property tax. Yeah, so they rank 21, so it's middling. And the reason for that is per capita is because the cost of living in California is so high. The per capita is $1,500, basically $1,451. But again, is somewhat misleading because again, if you live in Zuckerberg's home, wherever he lives, and you live in old Josh's home in the Fresno, you're going to have a significant per capita that's not quite representative of the taxes that I pay relative to Zuckerberg. This is more representative, and they're number 34, so that's pretty good. So 0.76. Is essentially the average that you pay for property tax in the state of California, and that's not too high. That's actually pretty low, and so I'm actually pretty pleased to see that. But again, the property tax laws that they have is one of the reasons why the other stuff is so high. Let's look at sales tax. Sales tax pretty high. Look at that. They rank number 1, and we don't want to be number 1 here. We want to be number 50. The average local sales tax is 1.29. The state sales tax is 7.25, which means your Average local and state is 8.5, which ranks in the top 10. Again, we don't want to be in the top 10. They hammer you on gas tax. Look at that, 53 cents per gallon of gas, my friends. That's crazy. And then cigarette tax. If you smoke, you're going to get hammered there as well. So if you don't drive, you don't smoke, and you don't buy a lot of goods, you'll be probably pretty good. You go over to Nevada, I presume, and save a lot of money on sales tax. You're going to be pretty good because your property taxes aren't significant. Your income tax, while high for the higher end, is not significant either. This one's right here where they really hammer you: the sales tax, and then, of course, your cigarette tax and your gas tax. So just bop on over to Nevada, and you can reduce your taxes for California quite a bit. All right, so let's now go to here, which I like. Again, as I get to know smartasset.com, I'm becoming more and more of a fan of it. Income from retirement accounts and pensions, we already talked about it in California, fully taxable. Social Security benefits are exempt, but California does have some of the highest sales taxes in the U.S. So let's go back to our chart. We got Social Security, $25,000, like we've been doing for the other states we've been talking about. We got annual retirement income of $20,000. We're saying you're married, filing jointly, and you're born in 1953. So let's see how much they're going to get you on that kind of income in California. You got $25,000 Social Security, $25,000 of retirement benefits, and not much. Look at that. They're only getting $288 on income. Oh, that didn't get me right. We got to get this pension out of there. Sorry about that, my friends. All right, so we got to get that pension out of there. Let's see what we got. So look at that. If you got $25,000 Social Security, $25,000 of retirement income, you're only paying $168 in California income tax. That's not bad. Income tax is not where they get you, though. They get you on the sales tax for sure. Not even so much on the property tax. But so that should dispute some of the theories that go around about California being significantly high from a tax perspective. From an income tax perspective, it just is not. It's not. Now, the question is, could you live off that income in California if you're only bringing in $50,000 a year? Given the median values over $400,000 on a home, I don't think so. You're definitely going to have to rent. So let's try this. Let's do $50,000. No, let's do this. I want to try something else. $25,000 of Social Security. And I'm just curious to see $50,000 of retirement income. We've already discussed that Social Security is not taxed in California. And there, look at that. So now you got $50,000 retirement income, $25,000 Social Security. Still only paying $724 in taxes on $75,000 of income in California. So that's, I can't argue with that. That's not too shabby. So kudos to California for at least keeping their income taxes low. Again, my friends, the issue when it comes to retirees is property tax. Property tax is what we want to try to avoid, high property tax as much as we can. In California, property taxes are pretty low, but their real estate values is quite high, and that's where they can kind of get you. But so there you go. There's our on California from an income tax perspective is actually quite favorable. No two ways around that. From property tax, it could be depending on where you are in the overall scheme of things, what your budget is, and the value of your home. Again, the cost of homes in California is high, so that would make your property tax from a dollar percentage can be much, much higher than any place else, because it's just so costly to live there. But then you're going to save a boatload on income tax for sure. It's the sales tax where they get you, the gas tax and things of that nature. So hope this helps. Don't forget to subscribe. I forgot to throw that in there. Subscribe if you would. That helps with YouTube, get the content out there to other people who might be interested in these tutorials. Don't forget a thumbs up. Thumbs up always help. A thumbs up helps us significantly for audience interaction. Put comments down below and then hit the notification button too to be notified of future content. So the subscribe button, just real quick, is on the lower right-hand side. I'm not sure if that's showing the lower right-hand side or the left. So I'm going to point over there. You'll see a little subscribe button there as well. And then go to the webpage at heritagewealthplanning.com. And then you can see all the podcasts, the videos, and the blog posts we post on there. We'll see you next time on the Heritage Wealth Planning YouTube channel. Thanks, guys.